In this video, we'll take a look at the first problem from the review for quiz number 1. This is problem number 1 on the review, and it's actually problem number 9 from the chapter 1 review. And the topic is to review different types of sampling strategies. So in our problem, the marijuana survey, we want to identify the type of sampling from the choices: random, systematic, convenience, stratified, cluster, used when a sample of the 1,500 survey responses is obtained as described. Then determine whether the sampling scheme is likely to result in a sample that's representative of the population of all adults. So looking at the sampling strategies, random means that if you have everybody's name put in a hat and pick out 10 of them, okay? Everybody has an equal chance of being chosen. Systematic is some sort of a systematic fashion, such as putting everybody in a line and picking every 10th person. Convenient sample is taking the sample that you can get, and really out of these, that's the only one that's not very good because you don't get a representative sample of your population. Stratified means that you separate your sample into groups and then you choose a set amount from each group. For example, if we wanted to sample freshmen and sophomores at Yavapai and make sure we had the same amount of each, we would separate students into 2 groups and then we would randomly choose from each of those groups. A cluster sample means separating into groups such as your zip code and then choosing by the cluster. That would be a cluster. So if we chose zip codes, then everybody with the same zip code would be chosen. So keeping these in mind, let's take a look at what we have. So A complete list of all adults in the United States is compiled and every 150,000th name is selected until you get a sample size of 1,500. So since we're putting them in order and then choosing a particular one, this one is considered a systematic sample. Part B, if we take a complete list of all the adults in the United States and choose 1,500 randomly from the list, that is definitely random because everybody has the same chance of being selected. C, the U.S. is partitioned into regions with 100 adults in each region. Then 15 of those regions are randomly selected and all 100 people in the region are surveyed. So in this case, since we're randomly selecting the regions are considered clusters. So each cluster has 100. So part C is a cluster sample. D also partitions the United States into regions. This time it's 150 regions. But the difference here, we're going to have approximately the same number of adults in each region and then select 10 people from each of the 150 regions. So we did separate it into regions, but then we're randomly choosing people from each. So this one is stratified sample. And then last, a survey mailed to 10,000 randomly selected adults and 1,500 are used. If all 10,000 would have sent their responses back, that would be a random sample. But since only 1,500 are used, picked out of they're the ones that were decided to send it back, that ends up being a sample of convenience. You use the responses that you got back. All right, I hope that helps understand the difference between these 5 different types of sampling strategies.